Is South Africa finally hitting the right notes for would-be entrepreneurs? Nedbank, together with CIPC, the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission, or CIPC, of course, and the DTI, announcing the launch of CIPC Online. It's a one-stop service for entrepreneurs, which also streamlines the process to register a business. It's been blooming hard to do up until now. This is theoretically easier. This is the MoneyMakers. Tonight, I'm talking about the creation of efficiencies using tech and making things a lot easier to do. Alan Shannon is the head of relationship banking and sales at Nedbank Retail. You are not the only bank doing this with the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission. I think all four of you now are on board with CIPC, right?
Absolutely. We were the last to sign on, and we officially announced that today. I think, though, that in terms of the way we've sort of rolled this process out, we're really pleased with the process that has been rolled out, and perhaps feel it's a little bit more seamless than perhaps what some of our competition have to offer. So we're happy with the product, even though that we're sort of fourth out of four.
No, but that doesn't matter. The point is you can now, through your bank, set up a company.
Absolutely, we can.
Explain to me how the process works, because it's CIPS or its predecessor, CIPRO, massively problematic. People would lose papers. There were allegations of bribery and corruption, and there was a complete shambles. The CIPS creation happened. Lots of automation happened. Still not perfect, but it does seem to have evolved to this point.
It certainly does. In fact, the Minister was at Pains this morning during the official launch, just to sort of talk around how much that process has improved over specifically, I think, the last sort of 8 to 10 months. The process is seamless, and I think what the Nedbank process allows is for people that are looking to kick off a concept and register a business, or even register an additional business over and above that which they've already registered, is to do that online through the nedbank.co.za site. And it's seamless. It allows them through one process to open up a bank account even at the same time.
So people will go through a Nedbank. You don't have to be a Nedbank customer, but I can choose the Nedbank portal if I want to.
Absolutely. Go
via you into the CIPS system.
Correct.
Nothing can possibly go wrong there, can it?
Well, in fact, the system's been well tested, and we put a number of people through the process in anticipation of the official launch. And the testimonials that we've received from people having gone through that process have been remarkable.
Just how many have you registered so far?
It's just in excess of 100. The process, like I said, it's been mainly testing, but so far so good. The process has been running.
Who's it aimed at?
It's aimed at anybody who's wanting to register a new business, or even for existing customers that are looking to expand their business.
So if somebody called Ackerman or Oppenheimer or Rupert decided, I fancy setting up a spaza shop at the end of the farm road, they could come via the portal and set up spaza.com or whatever the case might be through the portal.
We would be surprised if they applied, but most certainly they can. And I think it's really designed at people that want to establish a formal business, that want to register a business, that want to register some options in terms of names, want to register multiple directors as part of that entity. All that's available now through the system that we've put into place along with the CIPC and the DTI.
How secure is it? Because ultimately we've had the hijacking of details from banks. It goes back to 5 years or so ago. Mining entities were having identities stolen through the CIPS system. I mean, that's a high reputational issue for guys like yourselves.
Well, it is, and I think with Nedbank takes security across all its internet products exceptionally seriously. So the same sort of credentials and security credentials that exist within Nedbank Internet Banking would exist across this as well. We're very happy with the security so far, and time will tell, but we don't see any risk of any of our clients' details being compromised through this process.
Those of us with long memories remember the "Who Are Those People" campaigns of 15 years ago, the Neisner Seahorse and all of that sort of stuff. Nedbank got mocked a lot for that. In the last 5 years or so, almost through Tom Boardman and post-Tom Boardman into Mike Brown's tenure as chief executive, the tone of Nedbank's messaging has changed, and you've put yourselves up there as the bank for small business. Is it working?
I think it is. Certainly over the last couple of years we've enjoyed some really good acquisition from a small business perspective. Following our mantra of making things happen, we feel that's been particularly true insofar as the small business segment's concerned. So acquisition's been good. I think certainly in the sort of independent studies that have been done amongst the small business community that isn't banking with us sort of sees us as potentially being their next best choice. And I think all the work that's been done over the last few years, spearheaded by Mike Brown and the people heading up the retail and business banking cluster, has put us on a really good footing for the small business market.
But are you actually funding small businesses? Because one is told anecdotally wherever one goes to these entrepreneurship events, the banks won't give us money. We've got this great idea. But the banks just don't get us.
So listen, Advance's growth hasn't been the fastest over the last sort of 6
It's
to
growing
12
in
months.
single digits, yes.
But certainly we're continuing to advance to the small business, and I think as Nedbank, even working in other public-private partnerships with, for instance, the Department of Public Works, we're able to come up with some really intuitive ways of being able to get some small businesses off the ground in mechanisms that have also helped us mitigate our risk really nicely along the way. So absolutely, we're providing funding to small business, and we're doing some in quite intuitive ways in other public-private partnerships as well.
Again, is this more lip service to the notion of entrepreneurship, or is this a real commitment to making entrepreneurship work? Because the corporates like yourselves are not creating massive numbers of jobs. ShopRite creates a couple of thousand a year as it spreads its network. But large corporates, by and large, are not creating jobs. This is the job creation. This is the hope. This is the future. And unless we take it seriously, well, we're all on you might be in first class on the Titanic, but it's sinking along with third.
Yes, of course. I mean, I think this is going to be absolutely enabler. So I think people that have a concept, that know they want to go ahead and register a formal business, this is certainly going to take out a lot of the bureaucracy and red tape that has historically been associated with doing so.
Why is it different, though, going through a Nedbank portal or a Standard Bank portal and going directly via CIPS?
Well, I think so. It's the ease, So the fact that you can log on at any time, anywhere, any place.
Do that to CIPS, Connor?
Well, I guess you can. I think what helps in our process is that we've coupled it in with being able to get transacting with the bank at the same time. So we facilitate that process, and as soon as the account or the company registration process has been fulfilled and the individuals have paid their fees, we then seamlessly come in as part of the exact same process and help to facilitate the transactional banking element, which they require. And it's often that registering with the likes of SARS that they need to undertake before we as banks will often sign up transactional accounts for them in those entities.
No, but that's an absolutely pivotal point here, because so often it's a case of nobody's telling you what to do, so you're fumbling your way through the registration process, and suddenly one part is not talking to another part. Now there seems to be an integration of systems, which is far more...
Absolutely, and I think we've had to obviously go through a process of enabling our own front end across the hundreds of points of presence that exist in Nedbank to make sure that our staff are able to sort of help our potential clients and existing clients to navigate through this process. And so that's been your
website's pretty cluttered as it is. It's quite hard to find stuff simply because the race for innovation post FNB's hype of the last 5 years has seen everybody wanting to show everyone else how clever they are. We're also clever, we're also innovative, we're also wonderful. Look at everything we do. And suddenly there's this big fruit salad of content all over a website, and it can be quite hard to navigate. How are you making that possible?
So I think Nedbank's gone through a process over the last sort of 12 to 18 months of reshaping its entire website to try and take out some of the clutter and make it more intuitive to follow. So for this particular initiative, people simply need to click to the business section, and it's quite an intuitive sort of probably two clicks away thereafter to be able to get to the point where you're actually able to go and apply for your business online.
Okay, so I come onto the website for the first time ever. I go into business and I click, my 2 clicks, or was that 3? But one was a mistake, so I corrected myself. I go through the process and I apply for a company name, a very clever company name that nobody else has ever applied for. I've got directors that pass the smell test, and I register. What is the duration of that process now?
So it could be anywhere between as little as 3 and 7 days end to end, which again, the Minister used the comparison a little earlier on. This time last year, that process could easily have taken 2 to 3 weeks. They say it's physically possible to get it done within hours. I think in terms of the expectation we want to create with prospective customers is bank on 3 to 7 days and your company will be registered and your bank account will be opened.
Rwanda's famous for doing it within hours. Why aren't we?
Not sure. It's a good question. I haven't studied the Rwanda model, but you've prompted me to perhaps do a little bit of research and try and get a bit of understanding why. I mean, I think it's given where we've come from, we certainly see it as a massive improvement. I think the other part of the process is that the people that are opting into this process get notified along the way exactly where their application is at any particular point in time.
Who takes responsibility for that? Is that a Nedbank responsibility? Is that a CIPS responsibility? I'm just waiting for somebody to drop a ball somewhere and suddenly everybody starts pointing fingers at each other.
Yes. So, well, I mean, we're in this together between us and the CIPC. This is a public partnership. So as long as we are channeling our clients into our website for this particular service, it becomes a joint responsibility between us and the CIPC.
You know what the old registrar of banks, Errol Kruger, used to say about joint ventures? He says, it's all about samenwerking.
Well, I think there's some...
and that's a good thing, right?
Absolutely.
He said the trouble with joint ventures, and this goes back to the days of People's Bank and all sorts of other things where people were in joint ventures with each other. It was all terribly complicated. He didn't like them one bit. Because his concept of samenwerking is both of us think we're together. We just think the other one's doing the work. How do we avoid this samenwerking clash of cultures? Because the cultures will be very different.
I mean, I think the cultures are, but certainly the work that we've been involved. I mean, the level of participation that's taken place amongst both parties to get this thing right has been awesome. It's perhaps not what people may be thinking in terms of how these type of working relationships works. It's been great. I think we all want exactly the same thing. We want to. I mean, the department has made it very clear. They want to make this process easier. We fulfill an opportunity and provide them a channel to be able to do that. So I think we both want exactly the same thing. And I guess with any sort of partnership of this nature, as long as you're aligned on what your objectives are, that's not a bad departure point.
Pre-December, certainly I think it was fair to say that government and business were at loggerheads with each other a lot of the time. Then we saw the Nene debacle, we saw the appointment of Pravin Gordhan. Pravin Gordhan started speaking to business started speaking to Pravin Gordhan, and there seems to be a filtering through that actually, if we are on the Titanic and some are in first and some are in steerage and some are stowaways, we need to get the ship working and pulling in the same direction, otherwise we're in trouble. Has the attitude changed in the last 4 months?
Well, this particular initiative we've been engaged with government on for the last 11 months. So, certainly the cooperation that's existed between Nedbank and the department around this initiative goes back to May last year. So, I guess all the debate that's taking place at the moment only helps to sort of add momentum and fuel to the cooperation that's taking place. But we've seen the cooperation happening even before then.
There we go. Alan Shannon, nice to see you. Thank you very much for bringing us up to speed. Alan Shannon is the head of relationship banking and sales at Nedbank Retail, bank number 4 to join this initiative with CIPC. Do me a favor, if you're planning to register a business, do it through his portal and then tell me whether or not it gets done within 3 to 7 days and just how seamless and easy it was. I think that will be fun, and then we can get it back with you if it doesn't work. If it does, let me know anyway. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.